Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. I'm going to read a poem titled Holy Thursday by William Blake. Is this a holy thing to see in a rich and fruitful land? Babes reduced to misery, fed with cold and usurious hand. Is that trembling cry a song? Can it be a song of joy? And so many children poor, it is a land of poverty. And their sun does never shine, and their fields are bleak and bare, and their ways are filled with thorns. It is eternal winter there. For where'er the sun does shine, and where'er the rain does fall, babe can never hunger there, nor poverty the mind appall. This video is going to be posted on Poetry Thursday, a booktube tradition in which various booktubers will post a video of themselves reading a poem or talking about poetry in some way. I have occasionally done a full poetry reading, sometimes of my own poetry, sometimes, and I think more frequently, of poetry by others. I was thinking of doing a combination, sort of along the lines of the Cummings poem to Mr. U, an anthologist. Mr. U will not be missed, who as an anthologist sold the many on the few, not excluding Mr. U. I was thinking of not excluding myself in this poetry reading, or as Dylan Thomas once said, first comes the jam, now comes the pill. Well, I will do the jam first, although I don't know how much, while the poems that I intend to read are delightful poems as poems, I curated a set of poems that pertain to such diverse topics as work, environmental degradation, and social injustice. So this I'm going to read is by Gerard, Manley, Hopkins, titled Binsey Poplars. I haven't read this for a while. I'll try to get through it. Binsey Poplars, felled 1879. My aspens dear, whose airy cages quelled or quenched in leaves the leaping sun, all felled, are all felled, of a fresh and following folded rank, not spared, not one, that dandled a sandaled shadow that swam or sank on meadow and river and wind-wandering, weed-winding bank. Oh, if we but knew what we do when we delve or hew, hack and rack the growing green, since country is so tender, to touch her being so slender, that like this sleek and seeing ball, but a prick will make no eye at all. Even where we mean to mend her, we end her when we hew or delve. After comers cannot guess the beauty bin. 10 or 12, only 10 or 12 strokes of havoc unselve. The sweet especial scene, rural scene, a rural scene, sweet especial rural scene. I got a couple of bits of that wrong, I suppose. His word order can be jarring sometimes when you come upon it unexpected. How about something from the great Carl Sandburg? Halsted Street Car. Come, you cartoonists, Hang on a strap with me here at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Halstead Street car. Take your pencils and draw these faces. Try with your pencils for these crooked faces, that pig sticker in one corner, his mouth, that overall factory girl, her loose cheeks. Find for your pencils a way to mark your memory of tired, empty faces after their night's sleep in the moist dawn and cool daybreak, faces tired of wishes, empty of dreams. Well, I think I will follow that with a poem similarly themed, probably a better poem by Claude McKay, a sonnet, Dawn in New York. The dawn, the crimson tinted comes out of the low, still skies over the hills, Manhattan's roofs and spires and cheerless domes. The dawn, my spirit to its spirit thrills. Almost the mighty city is asleep, no pushing crowd, no tramping feet. But here and there a few cars groaning creep along above and underneath the street, bearing their strangely ghostly burdens by. The women and the men of garish nights, their eyes wine weakened and their clothes awry, grotesques beneath the strong electric lights. The shadows wane, the dawn comes to New York, and I go darkly rebel to my work. He has more than one poem upon such a theme. Well, here's another one, a bit longer. That previous sonnet was criticized because of his characterization of the city as having domes and spires. Somebody said it sounded more like Moscow, but that is a magnificent poem, regardless of what such naysayers and critics may surmise. When dawn comes to the city, the tired cars go grumbling by, the moaning, groaning cars, and the old milk carts go rumbling by under the same dull stars. Out of the tenements, cold as stone, dark figures start for work. I watch them sadly shuffle on. 'Tis dawn, dawn in New York. But I would be on the island of the sea, in the heart of the island of the sea, where the cocks are crowing, 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 and the hens are cackling in the rose apple tree. Where the old draft horse is neighing, 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 out on the brown, dew-silvered lawn, and the tethered cow is lowing, 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 and dear old Ned is braying, 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 and the shaggy nanny goat is calling, 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 from her little trampled corner of the long, wide lea that stretches to the waters of the hill stream falling, sheer upon the flat rocks joyously. There, oh there, on the island of the sea, there would I be at dawn. The tired cars go grumbling by, the crazy, lazy cars, and the same milk carts go rumbling by under the dying stars. A lonely newsboy hurries by, humming a recent ditty. Red streaks strike through the gray of the sky. The dawn comes to the city. But I would be on the island of the sea, in the heart of the island of the sea, where the cocks are crowing, 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 and the hens are cackling in the rose apple tree, where the old draft horse is neighing, neighing, neighing out on the brown, dew-silvered lawn, and the tethered cow is lowing, 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 and dear old Ned is braying, 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 and the shaggy nanny goat is calling, calling, calling from her little trampled corner of the long, wide lea that stretches to the waters of the hill stream falling sheer upon the flat rocks joyously. There, oh there, on the island of the sea, there would I be at dawn. The Tired Worker. Oh, whisper, oh my soul, the afternoon is waning into evening. Whisper soft, peace, oh my rebel heart, for soon the moon from out its misty veil will swing aloft. Be patient, weary body, soon the night will wrap thee gently in her sable sheet, and with a leaden sigh thou wilt invite to rest thy tired hands and aching feet. The wretched day was theirs, the night is mine. Come, tender sleep, and fold me to thy breast. But what steals out the gray clouds red like wine? The dawn, O dreaded dawn, O let me rest. Weary my veins, my brain, my life, have pity. No, once again the harsh, the ugly city. He's being very annoying over there. I hope the sound does not distract you, but it is certainly distracting me. Anyhow, I might as well go full throttle McKay. This, by the way, is the book to get, Selected Poems, Harvest HBJ book. I doubt it's in print. I think the Dover selection is probably pretty good. I haven't really looked at it thoroughly. This is titled The White City. I will not toy with it, nor bend an inch. Deep in the secret chambers of my heart, I muse my lifelong hate, and without flinch, I bear it nobly as I live my part. My being would be a skeleton, a shell, if this dark passion that fills my every mood and makes my heaven in the white world's hell did not forever feed me vital blood. I see the mighty city through a mist, the strident trains that speed the goaded mass, the poles and spires and towers vapor-kissed, the fortressed port through which the great ships pass. The tides, the wharves, the dens I contemplate are sweet like wanton loves because I hate. And you know, there was a poem of his that I wanted to read. I didn't intend for this to become an all McKay reading, but why not go with the best when you have him in hand? Oh, that's right. I was going to read the one about the pagan isms, and then I decided not to. But I think I will pull it up regardless, if I can find it. The pagan isms. Where is it? Oh, there's so many good poems in this book. It's just really remarkable that such a poet could have been and written. Well, I'm not seeing the pagan isms, and I know it was there. No, it would not. Oh, God, there's so much good stuff here. I should just do an all McKay reading. I really should. I'll leave McKay then for now. You'll get the pagan isms on another time. Let me take it down a notch and go back to Carl Sandburg. Passers-by. Both Sandburg and McKay, incidentally, did spend time in Chicago. Passers-by, out of your many faces, flash memories to me, now at the end of day, away from the sidewalks where your shoe soles traveled and your voices rose and blent to form the city's afternoon roar, hindering an old silence. Passers-by, I remember lean ones among you, throats in the clutch of a hope, lips written over with strivings, mouths that kiss only for love, records of great wishes slept with, held long, and prayed and toiled for. Yes, written on your mouths and your throats, I read them when you passed by. Now, to really change things, a book of the same sort of mintage or vintage, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who wrote some nice verses against slavery, and I thought I would introduce slavery into the topic. This one is titled The Witnesses. In ocean's wide domains, half buried in the sands, lie skeletons in chains with shackled feet and hands. Beyond the fall of dews, deeper than plummet lies, float ships with all their crews, no more to sink nor rise. There the black slave ship swims, freighted with human forms, whose fettered fleshless limbs are not the sport of storms. These are the bones of slaves. They gleam from the abyss. They cry from yawning waves, we are the witnesses. Within earth's wide domains are markets for men's lives. Their necks are galled with chains. Their wrists are cramped with gyves. Dead bodies that the kite in desert makes its prey. Murders that with affright scare schoolboys from their play. All evil thoughts and deeds, anger and lust and pride, the foulest, rankest weeds that choke life's groaning tide. These are the woes of slaves. They glare from the abyss. They cry from unknown graves. We are the witnesses. If I were, as in the old days, making a video for my channel with some prior preparation, I would have looked up the word gyves, G-Y-V-E-S, to really know how it was pronounced. I can't be sure. Something one would find a word in William Butler Yeats, to be sure. The next one is titled The Slave Singing at Midnight, perhaps something for which he was even more famous. The rhymes in this are just exquisite. The slave singing at midnight. Loud he sang the psalm of David, he a Negro and enslaved, sang of Israel's victory, sang of Zion bright and free. In that hour when night is calmest, sang he from the Hebrew psalmist, in a voice so sweet and clear that I could not choose but hear. Songs of triumph and ascriptions, such as reached the swart Egyptians when upon the Red Sea coast perished Pharaoh and his host. And the voice of his devotion filled my soul with strange emotion, for its tones by turns were glad, sweetly solemn, wildly sad. Paul and Silas in their prison sang of Christ, the Lord arisen, and an earthquake's arm of might broke their dungeon gates at night. But alas, what holy angel brings the slave this glad evangel, and what earthquake's arm of might breaks his dungeon gates at night? not a little of an echo of Blake there. It's still heart-rending. Let's go back to Blake a bit. What the hell? London. I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blasts the newborn infant's tear and blights with plagues the marriage hearse. Well, that's one of his most famous. Now might as well do the most anthologized poem which exists in English literature, The Tiger. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? I'm just pulling Blake from this anthology because I didn't want to grab the big bulky book in which it's impossible to find anything, so I don't quite know what I have in this book. Well, that poem by Blake is the one sure poem that I could recite from memory. I might as well segue into the other poem that even more surely I could recite from memory with one word that sometimes throws me, and that is a poem by E.E. Cummings. So I will move into his great protest poem, Thanksgiving, 1956. A monstering horror swallows this unworld, me by you, as the God of our fathers' bows to a witch that walks like a who. But the voice with a smile of democracy announces night and day, all poor little peoples that want to be free, just trust in the USA. Suddenly uprose Hungary, and she gave a terrible cry. No slaves on life shall murder me, for I will freely die. She cried so high Thermopylae heard her, and Marathon, and all pre-human history, and finally, the UN. Be quiet, little Hungary, and do as you are bid. A good, kind bear is angry, and we fear for the quo pro quid. Uncle Sam shrugs his pretty pink shoulders, you know how, and he twitches a liberal titty and lisps, I'm busy right now. So rah, 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 democracy, let's all be as thankful as hell and bury the Statue of Liberty because it begins to smell. You know, I feel like going back to McKay. I just don't know. It may seem that I'm trying to work myself up into a tizzy. It may well be. What the heck? Well, rest in peace. No more for you the city's thorny ways, the ugly corners of the Negro belt, the miseries and pains of these harsh days by you will never, never again be felt. No more, if still you wander, will you meet with nights of unabating bitterness. They cannot reach you in your safe retreat. The city's hate, the city's prejudice. 'Twas sudden, but your menial task is done. The dawn now breaks on you, the dark is over. The sea is crossed, the longed-for port is won. Farewell, oh fare you well, my friend and lover. Oh my God. Might as well give it to America. America. Although she feeds me bread of bitterness and sinks into my throat her tiger's tooth, stealing my bread of life, I will confess I love this cultured hell that tests my youth. Her vigor flows like tides into my blood, giving me strength erect against her hate. Her bigness sweeps my being like a flood. Yet as a rebel fronts a king in state, I stand within her walls, with not a shred of terror, malice, not a word of jeer. Darkly I gaze into the days ahead, and see her might and granite wonders there, beneath the touch of time's unerring hand, like priceless treasures sinking in the sand. Now, I have a poem in my book of sonnets, my first real book, written as a book, that is to say, not things loosely compiled, that references that poem, and I have such a hard time finding anything in this book. A little preparation would have been good. There are so many poems that reference him here, but I wouldn't know how to find it. Oh, darn it. God only knows. Well, I had a different poem that I was, I'll read the one that I was initially going to read, something about, at the time I wrote it, I didn't know the origins of the comment that is quoted in the later part of this sonnet, but it comes from Jomo Kenyatta, I believe, about Christians coming with the Bible. So I'll read the sonnet, number 40. Submission to the will of God is good, yet what the will of God is none can say, though many people have it understood and gladly condescend to show the way. The Lord wills this, the Lord wills that, one hears, as if they have a secret channel to his innermost desire, their hopes and fears as congruous with what he'd have them do. When Christians came and brought the Bible, we possessed the land, but now we have the Bible, they the land. Wherefore servility is preached, and blasphemy a form of libel. So creeds have ever confiscated booty, and yoked the dispossessed to heaven's duty. Of course, there are forms of land confiscation that do not even substitute some religious texts. They just take the booty outright. Oh, is that where we're going? Well, then let me read the four sonnets. I beseeched help of a woman from my Tai Chi class, Jane, who also very graciously lent me $1,000 when I was trying to get my book, The Requiem, printed. And she graciously wrote some usable cover matter for me because I had no idea where to go with that task. And she mentioned that she particularly liked the four sonnets that had something of a military current to them. So I will read those four. Each one is in the voice of a different speaker. And I did love a soldier once. He was taken from me, and tears were in his eyes at his induction. So it came to pass, though everybody said it was not wise, to love a soldier, and he passed from me, in service of some principles renowned. I wrote, and though we pledged to be faithful, our love in time it was disowned, because I saw him turn into a man, and turning pass from me, a lithesome lass, a boy when he went in that brief span, become a man, who from me he did pass. I learned that love has seldom time to tarry, nor ever does outlast the military. I can see we're going to go long on this one. That was number 77 if you're looking for it. 78. She swore to wait for me on my return, and I believed her vow. I was a man, and while I was away, my thoughts would burn through to her photograph. I got a tan. My skin became so dark, my head so big. Mother and sister took me to the train and told me not to cry, but others did, and I could see my mama's face in pain. And from the train, they transferred us to God knows where or cares. But I came through it, though. It strengthened me in mind and in my bod, and taught me what a boy did never know. She married with my friend, but we were sent to where I saw, well, anyhow, we went. Number 79. I served my country 50 years ago at Normandy, and many of us died, but we were able to turn back the foe and drive him out of Europe, vilified, the Nazi threat. Though I've heard said today that what we did was not worth fighting for or dying for. So to these sayers say, just wait until the threat is at your door. My son was killed in battle after me. Hamburger Hill that ground him up like meat. His name is on the wall for all to see, with all the other names that war did eat. I lost great many buddies and a son who heard the rapid rifle's orison. And finally, number 80. My son was killed in battle, and I say, no foe, however great, no awful threat, is worth the price a mother has to pay to see a son cut down, her baby yet. The son I nurtured, brought forth from my womb, because some evil persons in a land so far from here, have laid him in a tomb forever dead, and I don't understand. They tell me that he died to serve his country and gave his life that others may breathe free. But this and half a dozen reasons sundry can't justify their taking him from me. Mothers give birth to daughters, not to sons, nor let them feed the slaughter of the guns. Those last two, that line about the orisons is taken from Wilfred Owen, but those last two definitely have something of a Rudyard Kipling feel to them to me. So that poem that I read by E. Cummings was certainly worthy of following William Blake, but I should say that Cummings also wrote other poems that were not so finely measured, let me say. He wrote things which were nasty and ugly. And I thought I would read a poem which I just received in the mail today. And this one goes on a little bit. And this somewhat prompted my thinking about doing a reading, and I wasn't sure if I would do it, but since we're moving in this direction, what the heck? You may wish to fast forward over it if the subject is too delicate, too harsh for your delicate tastes. Dealing with, of course, current events. The title is McGenocide, written by Caitlin Johnstone. I don't know if you can even see that. Jesus. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Caitlin. That's the best I can give you here. This is what is it when the words are just dripping with bile? You're not going to get any of the mellifluous modulation of Longfellow here. The CNN says an IDF soldier has suffered trauma because he had to run over too many Palestinians with his D9 armored bulldozer. Says he can't eat meat anymore because he had to drive over so much human meat. He actually called it meat. And it reminds him of all the blood and guts and bones and tissue that would come squirting out when he ran over them. Poor IDF soldier. Can't even enjoy a Big Mac anymore. Can't even bite into a big juicy McGenocide burger. Can't even masticate a mouthful of gore without being haunted by visions of human torsos and skulls, spurting guts and brains as he plowed over them, dead and alive, in the killing fields of Gaza. Can't even enjoy his children McNuggets without remembering all the kids he killed, all the tiny bodies, shredded bodies, bulldozed bodies, body parts packed into the treads of the bulldozer, getting caught in the works, having to pull them out by hand because, by golly, we need to use it some more tomorrow. And the CNN man says, it's so sad, so sad. A man's got to have his meat, got to bite into it, feel it dribbling down his chin, hear it screaming and begging for help, hear it crying out for his mother one last time, and then nothing but snapping and crunching and chewing and swallowing and washing it down with hard liquor to kill off the feelings in his chest, the feelings that won't ever go away, that pound like mortar fire when he awakens from red dreams about screaming and spurting and crunching and popping, and remembers that he used to be an innocent young child, like the tiny red ghosts who haunt his nights. And we see and we live the McGenocide too, don't we? We live it right alongside him here in this crazy country where we laugh and joke and eat buckets of meat slop while our government turns humans into bulldozer mints in Gaza. Grinning black hole sun grins with meat dribbling down our chins while the sky turns red and the birds turn into Reaper drones giggling at our podcasts and getting mad at the Uber Eats driver for being 5 minutes late with our next plate full of carnage. And we have the nightmares too, don't we? Waking, trembling with terror at what we've allowed, what we've helped make possible, what we tacitly consent to while we distract ourselves with smartphones and streaming services and porn and gossip and the ridiculous fake election for America's next fake president and plate after plate of bleeding red meat. Our teeth grow sharper and our hearts grow harder, and the smokestacks fill with the air with a horrifying stench. In this genocide town, this ghost town, this meat town, it's essential to learn how to drown out the feelings that bark and bray at the blood-red moon until dawn, because it beats the hell out of sleeping and dreaming and remembering what we have done and where we are going and what we have become and what we are still becoming. So a bit overwritten, I would say, a bit overwritten, a bit overwrought, but to my mind, and the thought just occurred to me, I think that could stand with the lovely, also overwritten and overwrought poem, which was used as an inaugural poem for President Biden. They curiously might pair one another. I will try to put some various links in the description box. I will link Caitlin Johnstone's channel or something, and I will link the magnificent YouTube channel Knowing Poetry, talking about that inaugural poem by Amanda Gorman, I think it is. He may even have more than one. Really a magnificent poem, overwritten, overwrought, to be sure, but with a lot to recommend it. Certainly a lot more hopeful than this. Well, let me conclude with some of the things that I have written pertaining to what's going on in Gaza, if I can find them. I think I've done 3. Should I read all 3? Uh-oh. Now, I thought I had them typed out somewhere. The stuff one finds, I mean, you know, I thought I had them typed out, and if I don't, well, obviously the typed copies are lost. That is going to make it harder. Yeah, I must have pulled them out while I was getting ready for this. I'm going to have to read them from the text. So, early on, Benjamin Netanyahu sort of set the stage for what would be happening in comparing the Palestinians to Amalek, a biblical group, biblical state, which the word from God was that it should be demolished, decimated. So this is the original copy, and I'll try to stumble through my handwriting. The siege of Amalek. Heavenly Lord, I view the wreck as I lie gored in Amalek. The soldiers boot upon my neck as me they shoot in Amalek. As bombs explode, can no one check this lot bestowed on Amalek? So hapless sighs the walls bedeck the bloody cries in Amalek. Us they destroy, can none protect sad girl and boy in Amalek? Sweet babes destroyed without a speck of mercy void in Amalek. No recourse nor no place to trek barred every door in Amalek. Yet revels fill the discotheque, they dance who kill in Amalek. They taste their drink with triple sec, while here we sink in Amalek. Innocent we become the dreck and refuse. see in Amalek. That was where I stumbled, so I corrected it. I'll link my original reading of this. So while bombs drop, who signs the check? Will this siege stop of Amalek? And the next one is going to be hard as well. It looks a little easier, but it's not a poem that, well, regardless. This is titled 8 for Aaron Bushnell. Before the barred consular gate, the soldier, in protest of hate, strode forward to self-immolate. Self-dowsing with accelerant, free Palestine commenced to chant this young man, his no mindless cant. As flames engulfed on every side, his plaintive, horrid words he cried, and with them on his lips he died. Free Palestine, let us not idle in witness to acts genocidal, but heave a protest growing tidal. As he did, we must sue for peace. Cease fire and let all killing cease, that man might find from sin release. Victory comes to those who grieve. From wanton slaughter, let reprieve belong to man and never leave. Lord, I will study war no more, and chilling murders all deplore, even as Bushnell spoke before. For love but offers anodyne, peace, safety both for me and mine. I grieve and cry, free Palestine. And the most recent one, the most recent one pertaining to that, if I have it in this notebook. It's so hard to find these things. It might be in some other place. And that is one that I would definitely be helped. Well, I am not finding it, so. Now that one, I think I had originally written it on the iPad. And, well, I'm not going to find it. And I know it was the most recent thing, except for, oh, here it is. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Titled The Tides Turning. Civilian buildings targeted, as though the place were Amalek. Countless the injured, missing, dead, when lives are classed as dross and dreck. Numberless bombs that from the sky descend, explosions tear and burn, while those who perpetrate deny that one day soon the tide may turn. Unstoppable the fierce onslaught seems something from the book of hell, a revelation come to naught, the words a God was wont to tell. For so we see the innocent, the pure in heart, too we discern, all to abomination sent unjustly, yet the tide may turn. High in glass towers, those who make the plans which make the rivers flow, rivers of blood, pretend mistake as though they did not mean it so. They feast on wine and caviar and grind their morals in the quern. Bibi ignites his big cigar, though smoke will clear and tides will turn. Alas, the news has all gone dark, yet from afar we watch the fire. What started as a little spark turns conflagration climbing higher, anon to spread both far and wide. As lessons seen, none can unlearn, nor where the guilt lies be denied. and soon the tide has got to turn. Well, who is it? Finkelstein? Norman Finkelstein, no relation to Moses, posted a video. Maybe I can find that too, in which he talked about. And he said, well, you know, we have long talked about, activists have long used the trope of being on the right side of history. And he said, it may well not be. But regardless, we fight because it is right, whether or not we are on the winning side of history. Indeed, the trope about being on the wrong side of history may not be true. Well, I will still on a somewhat somber note, but I will take it back to Claude McKay and read something a little more uplifting as far as something somber note it can be. Of course, in all of this indignation and high dudgeon that we are wont to feel, or that one is wont to feel in times like these, one must always remember that the individual sufferers are bearing with things in their own way, exclusive of or apart from our high dudgeon or indignation, what have you. And so this at least, this does not touch on that, of course. It's not about that in the least, but it will let us part, perhaps with our minds in a higher sphere. This is by Claude McKay, titled Memorial. I think all the others that I've read, well, no, they weren't all sonnets. Most of them were, and this one is not either. Memorial. Your body was a sacred cell always, a jewel that grew dull in garish light, an opal which beneath my wondering gaze gleamed rarely, softly throbbing in the night. I touched your flesh with reverential hands, for you were sweet and timid like a flower that blossoms out of barren tropic sands, shedding its perfume in one golden hour. You yielded to my touch with gentle grace, and though my passion was a mighty wave that buried you beneath its strong embrace, you were yet happy in the moment's grave. Still more than passion consummate to me, more than the nuptials immemorial sung, was the warm thrill that melted me to see your clean brown body, beautiful and young. The joy in your maturity at length, the peace that filled my soul like cooling wine, when you responded to my tender strength and pressed your heart exulting into mine. How shall I with such memories of you in coarser forms of love fruition find? No, I would rather like a ghost pursue the fairy phantoms of my lonely mind. And of course, many have been reduced to pursuing such fairy phantoms, their hopes having been dashed. This is what the poets write about. Well, I will stack the books together and include myself there among them because why not? Here we go. Today, this is what I pulled for this exercise. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.